This is Brianna McDonald's story. Brianna is president of the Northwest region of the Kritsu Forum Angel Investment Community, the largest and most active venture capital investment globally, comprising over 50 chapters with over 2,500 active members, investing over 75 million annually in over 180 companies. Now, recently, she had scheduled a major conference and had to put it on hold. Brianna, tell us a little bit about how the pandemic is affecting your business.
Well, thank you, Nan, for having me today. It's affected our business completely. We work with investment of early stage companies. And so when things started unfolding in rapid fashion the second week in March, we had to pivot quite quickly. So typically when investors are looking at early stage investments, it's all about meeting face to face. It's about meeting people, looking them in the eye and seeing on how they're going to show up for your investment, how they're going to execute, what types of demeanor and character they have. And we've had to pivot our entire business to online here in the last 3 weeks. Now, we are very organized and a very professional organization, so we have been able to put the protocols in place for our members to make sure that our meetings are well run, but it's not been without learning curves with Zoom and how we interface with everyone and still give our investors the community feel. Now, our Investor Capital Expo, which was scheduled to happen this Friday, did get postponed currently to May 22nd. But in all reality, and I don't know if that date is going to work either anymore. And we might just have to cancel that event this year and we usually do 2 a year. So then we'll just keep our one in August that we currently have, but we haven't made a decision yet. The information and the data changes by day to day. So just as the data keeps changing, we're very entrepreneurial and make decisions once we have all the facts in hand.
So do you think we'll be okay by August?
I think that we're going to be, so one nice thing about my organization is that we have many smart individuals from a lot of different areas. And one of the investors down in the Northern California chapter is an epidemiologist. And so the email he actually sent on March 15th was what made us decide to quarantine ourselves and quarantine our staff. And really, even though the stay-at-home policy had not been put into place here in Washington State yet, really take those steps and actions to do so. And his numbers are pretty spot on with where they're at today. I do believe by about June, we're going to start seeing some relief, but it's really going to be dependent upon how people listen to those stay-at-home orders, how people listen to limiting their exposure to other individuals and in social distancing, and really limit engagement as a whole. In talking with him yesterday, because I do talk with him regularly, he said that we should not be going to the grocery store right now. And if we do, we need to be wearing a mask, we need to be wearing gloves, but we should not be going to the grocery store right now. So if you have enough groceries to get you through a period of time, we should really limit the amount that we're going out into places where people are. So if we're able to follow those, I do believe we'll flatten the curve a lot faster than for individuals who do not.
I wonder about Washington State, because that's really where everything erupted and everybody started hearing about it. And I wonder whether their curve is they're going to reach their plateau faster than some of the rest.
I do believe we're going to see that. So I think the first case that we had here was at the end of January. And then what really ended up transpiring at the last weekend in February with the Life Care Center in Kirkland, Washington. It was all centered around that center, and then the community spread within those employees from that center. But that week following the last weekend in February, Microsoft shut down campus, Amazon shut down campus, UW shut down campus. And so almost immediately before anybody issued any orders, we already were requiring people to work from home. So I do believe there was some early action taken here in Washington, that we will hit our peak faster. They're predicting here right now that we're probably going to end up hitting our peak at the end of April.
Now, you do several conferences during the year, don't you?
Well, so we do two big expo events where typically we have about 500 investors, and we look at 18 different investment opportunities. And these are all sorts of different opportunities, from life science to technology, some consumer, maybe even some real estate deals mixed in there, but really looking at opportunities in the private markets and how people can really fund the future. During the other 10 months out of the year, we do what's called a road show. So we take the companies on the road, and so we are very much in the events business. This month in April, we will be doing an online roadshow in order to really try to maintain consistency with our investors and that community feel. We'll still be breaking it down into different chapters. Now, if individuals want to sign up to attend a different chapter because it's all online and easy to do, they can certainly do that. But we still are trying to maintain the community feel within our organization.
Now, the primary thing that you do with a venture summit or venture meeting is, do you showcase new businesses? Do they come present to you?
Yes. So there are companies that are raising capital for typically at minimum Series A or beyond. So we've been #1 in early and late stage funding, according to PitchBook data. Last year in the Pacific Northwest, once again, we funded 83 out of 102 companies, and our investors put in $54 million into those companies. So our investors choose how they want to invest. We just provide the process and the structure to be able to look at some of these higher risk investments. So we don't really look at companies that are in ideation stage or just getting started. It's going to be a very different environment going forward for fundraising. So the venture community is going to shift. And there will be a lot of early businesses that fail out of this.
So tell me how it's going to shift.
Well, what you're going to see is you're going to see reinvestment a lot already in our portfolio companies. So really working on our current investments that we, instead of looking at maybe newer investments. So it's one requirement we added into the companies for investment consideration is how many months of runway they have in the bank. And so we're really not considering any companies that do not have at least 12 months of runway in the bank. We need to make sure that they have what it takes to be able to withstand and weather the storm that's happened. So these are just some of the requirements, but we're going to see a lot of reinvestment in current portfolio companies. That's, VCs and private investors will go more inside on that. We will look at some new opportunities, and those will probably specifically fall in line with the COVID-19 pandemic and how businesses are shifting and benefiting from that crisis at hand. Because there's many businesses that are thriving right now and doing very well with the current situation. So however that may fall with our screening, but the dollars will not come easy. And for those companies that had just a couple months of runway left in the bank, it's going to be very difficult if they don't have existing investors already on board. This is where bootstrapping is very important. Looking for other sources of capital, such as grants, non-dilutive type funding, or even a loan, from mom and dad or whatever, to get things going. But this is not the time to be selling off your business to try and make a go at it.
When you say runway, I assume you mean the monthly expenses, the monthly nut.
Yeah, that's the monthly burn rate and basically how long they have to go before they run out of cash.
Now, what types of businesses are doing real well in this particular environment?
Well, there's some life science businesses that are doing well, or nutraceutical businesses that are also doing well. So supplements, immune boosters, etc. There's also other businesses that work in parallel. And I mean, the gaming business right now is going gangbusters because people are needing things to do, or any accessories that might actually go along with that. So if they are now spending more time at home on video games, they're going to be looking at buying maybe a better headset so they can hear better. Looking at the hand sanitizer. I mean, if you're in the hand sanitizer business right now, I mean, you're doing great. So, but really that wellness sector, there are many life science companies right now that we've invested in that are all working in some way to try and expedite testing, trying to use their technology to test for coronavirus. So there are many things that we can look at that are selling, that are busy, that they could benefit from. They're more insulated than, let's say, the next dress that's going to come out, or the next dating app. If you have the next dating app, I don't know if you're going to get a whole lot of funding right now.
What do you think you're going to look at differently? You said not any new startups. You're going to invest primarily in the ones that are there. But what kind of companies do you think we're going to see starting up? Are they going to be any different than what we've seen in the past?
I do think there's going to be a fundamental shift in how we are as a human species. And I don't necessarily know what that's going to look like, but I do see us evolving. I do have some concerns about what that evolution might look like. I've tried to warn people that, wash your hands with soap and water, but understanding that, if you use tons of antibacterial products, that creates superbugs. So there's unintended consequences that can come from overdoing things. So, moderation is key. Human touch is really important. I hope that we can come out of this and be able to hug each other again if we, see friends and do things like that, because it is shown that it releases endorphins and helps people feel better when you're able to touch one another. So these are some of the concerns that I have as a human species and where we could potentially go. I think there's going to be a lot of businesses that grow out of this, and usually down markets are a great time to start a business and excel. So, I mean, there's been a lot of great businesses that were started in 2009, 2010 that did very well. I don't know exactly what they're going to look like right now. I don't have any idea. It's amazing what people come up with all the time. And I just see so many ideas turning into businesses on a daily basis.
How has this affected you personally?
It's not been easy. It's been stressful. Pivoting the entire way that you've been running a business for 15 years over the course of 3 weeks is no small feat. And thank goodness we're very entrepreneurial and a small team. So we were able to pivot quite quick, and we have a great team in place here. But aside from running a business, I also have 3 kids at home that are 11, 9, and 5. So I've also turned in a teacher for kindergarten, 3rd grade, and 5th grade. That is not my calling in life. That's been probably more stressful than anything, is just having everybody there all the time, the fighting, the bickering, and then trying to make sure everybody stays on task and to keep calm and to have patience has been challenging. But we have found different outlets and things, such as playing games and trying to get off of screens. But the other thing is as a parent, I have constantly struggled with screens and how much screen time my children have on a daily basis. And that has now pretty much gone out the window with their schooling. They're on computers from the moment they get up until, the moment they go to bed. So really working on trying to make sure that we are breaking it up, doing game nights and not just constantly on screens, getting outside, but the weather's not been great this week. So it's different. Hindsight's 2020, and I do think I'll look back on this time and be grateful that I was able to really spend it with my kids and do that, because life was speeding up quickly prior to this happening.
Do you think this will change how kids learn or how we teach them, even back in school?
There might be some components of it that change, but fundamentally the teachers want to be in the classrooms. And I know from hearing this, the feedback from the parents need the kids in the classrooms. One of our school sent out a survey, and one of the comment sections I wrote, I'm not going to sacrifice the relationship with my child for them to get their schoolwork done. They listen to people who aren't their parents. So it's just a bit of a different dynamic. And so I do think for the younger grades, I think when we can go back to school, we'll go back to school. And everybody will be very happy about that, just like with summer. Even though some of our interns that help out here at Keiretsu Forum, they got pushed to online learning this quarter. And they were pretty frustrated about that. And they didn't like it at all. They don't learn well online. And so I do think some people are better equipped to do that, and others really need, there's just different learning types. So we might see some sort of shift in it, but I do think that there is benefit of bringing people together, and I really hope we don't lose sight of that.
Have you heard anything about whether they will extend school through the summer?
I have not heard anything about that. I don't think I'd be sad if they did. I think I would probably welcome it. But I have not heard anything about that. So school is closed for us until April 24th here in Washington State. And I do not believe we're going to be going back to school this year.
For the whole calendar year?
For the rest of this school year.
The school year.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. Just from the number that have already shut down. And for the period.
So Seattle,
sorry. A lot of problems, I would think, for teachers that are going to have kids at all different levels.
So I think that our school has been doing a really good job with the workload, but for the public schools, it's going to be challenging. So Seattle Public Schools finally went online this week for the first time. And I do think they're going to, I don't know how it's going to affect students who are supposed to be graduating high school this year. I don't know how that's going to affect them or what they're going to be able to do. It's just, we're all learning as we go.
A whole new society and all new rules for the society.
It really is. It really is. I feel very grateful to have a strong family unit. And as much as my kids drive me crazy, and I think any parent who doesn't say their kids drive them crazy at some point is lying, there is a lot of, we have a strong family unit. And so that is a blessing.
Do you have anything else you'd like to tell people or add or in hints or anything that you've learned that might be helpful to them?
Well, so one of the things that I use pretty much every day is I look for the silver lining in everything. And all of this can be very stressful and overwhelming, but also keeping in mind that when you're very stressed out, it reduces your immune system. And so, how you stay healthy is really how can you relax yourself? How can you calm that stress load? And that isn't necessarily indulging in alcohol or other things like that. That also reduces your immune system. So, really finding those times to meditate, finding those quiet moments, looking for the silver lining. One thing I keep reminding myself on a daily basis is that our planet is finally getting a break from all the pollution and everything that we have done to it. We've all been basically sent to our rooms to, think about it for a little bit. So, reassess. Yes, oil prices have dropped, but reassess. How are you going to help keep this trajectory going with our planet? We could have gotten here a restart button for our Earth to really try and set things right with the path we're going down. Exercise. Get out for 30 minutes. Do an online video if you can. Really eat healthy and don't indulge in crappy food. But do what you can to take care of you, and know, like with any situation, this will pass. This will pass. This is not 2008. This is probably more like 2001. There's lots of liquidity out there. We will recover from this, and this will pass. So take your lessons, learn them, evolve, grow, and we'll all be better for it.
Well, your comment on restarting the planet is one of the most interesting things I've heard anyone say. So kudos to you for that. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time and giving us your thoughts. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nan. It's great to see you again.